recordings and everything ready? Yeah. Call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Warrenville Public Library District. Today is Wednesday, November 18th, and it is 7:05 p.m. This meeting is held as a virtual meeting, given that the Illinois governor has declared the coronavirus pandemic a disaster. I have determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of this disaster. Roll call for trustees. Trustee DeRocher.
Present.
Trustee Richardson.
Here.
Trustee Stahl.
Present.
Trustee Warren.
Present.
Trustee Pika is also present.
Trustee Rosika present.
Trustee Ritsika has entered the room. Take a deep breath.
I was reading a book.
All right, once again, we need to appoint a secretary pro tem. I think Trustee Ritsika has volunteered to do that. So if there is a motion.
Heather Stahl moves that we appoint Trustee Ruzicka as Secretary Pro Tem for the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for November 18th.
Okay, I think I heard Trustee Warren. Motion was made by Trustee Stahl and seconded by Trustee Warren. Trustee DeRocher.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm confused. Is Trustee Ritsika here?
Yes.
Yeah,
right
she
next
was
to me.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought Barbara's, well,
I'm here, Barbara, I'm here.
All right. Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Richardson.
aye.
Trustee Ritsika.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Pika also votes aye. Motion carries. We need an approval of the agenda in your packet. Unless there is further commentary, I suggest we remove items 19 and 20, or we can add items from the consent agenda to new business. Any commentary, or can I get a motion to approve the agenda for
I
tonight?
move that we approve the agenda as amended. DeRocher.
Thank
I
you.
second Stahl.
Excellent. Motion was made by Trustee DeRocher and seconded by Trustee Stahl to approve the agenda. Trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
Trustee Richardson,
Aye.
Trustee Ritsika,
Aye.
Trustee Stahl,
Aye.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
Trustee Pika also votes aye. The motion carries. And at this time, we have a presentation. All of you probably realize that Ryan Lefevre, I hope I said that right, from Stickage is on the call with us, as he will be doing a presentation of the fiscal year 2020 audit. Brian, please take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry we couldn't be together in person. It's been a crazy year, that's for sure. So do you each have hard copies of the reports?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you all for inviting us to present the report resulting from the audit for the year ended June 30th, 2020. We'll start with the annual financial report. And within the annual financial report, if you go past the table of contents, you'll come to, after a tab that says introductory section, you'll come to a document called the Management's Discussion and Analysis. And the Management Discussion Analysis is the executive summary of the audit. It's written by the district. It's Sandy's favorite task of the year. And we review the MD&A to make sure it's consistent with the financial statements and with the GASB standards. It's the one place where you get to give explanations of your own financial statements. And that document goes for 10 pages. And after those 10 pages, you come to the you come to the independent auditor's report on regular page number 1. And this is on Stickage letterhead. This is where we've where we give our opinion on the financial statements. So just as a refresher, there's two sets of standards that we follow when we perform our audit. One are the auditing standards that are issued by the AICPA, the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants. And those standards tell us the types of procedures we need to perform when we're conducting our audit. And then the second set of standards are the financial reporting standards for local governments, such as the district, and those come from GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. Once we follow those two sets of standards, we can then issue an opinion on the financial statements. We're pleased to present an unmodified opinion, and what this means is that the financial statements present fairly in accordance with the modified cash basis of accounting, free of material misstatements. And this is the same opinion that you received in the prior year. The opinion goes for 3 pages, and you, as you get to page 4, you'll be at the first audited financial statement, which is 1 column of numbers. This is a consolidated or global view financial statement that shows your short-term assets and liabilities along with your long-term or capital assets, and then your long-term liabilities, which are your debt certificates. And the bottom of the page is the net position, or the bottom line. So the capital assets less your debt certificates is the net invested in capital assets of just over 4.2 million. Then you see your building equipment and maintenance dollars, your other tax levy dollars, your specific purpose dollars, if you will, and then your working cash, leaving with unrestricted net position of 722,000. The next page, page 5, is the statement of activities. This is the income statement on that same consolidated basis. You only see this statement along with the statement of net position in the annual audit. It's required to receive that unmodified opinion. So we usually don't spend too much time on it. Overall, you had a slight increase in net position of 16,000, which is to tell you that you were economically better off as a result of the year of operations. What you're more used to seeing is individual fund information, which starts on page 6. So here you have your, your cash and investments. For each of your major funds are in separate columns, and then the non-major smaller funds are aggregated in 1 column, and we'll look at the detail for those in the back of the report. And then your property taxes that came in June, which are financing the fiscal year that you're operating in now, those are set up as a deferred inflow. It's like a liability, and that's the 966,000 that you see in your general operating fund to come down to fund balance. So your reserves that you had available to begin the fiscal year that you're operating in now, just over 500,000 in your general fund, the 225,000 of working cash, your special reserve of 222,000, and then those non-major funds that we'll see the detail on in the back of the report. So how those fund balances were arrived at comes from page 8. Page 8 shows the revenues, expenditures, and change in fund balances for the year, and then reconciles the beginning and end of the year fund balance. So your revenues for your general fund were 1,884,000 with expenditures of 1,721,000. So you had an increase of 163,000. It tells you that you're structurally in balance. You can afford to provide the services that you're providing in your main operating fund with the revenue streams coming in. Now this year you did not make any transfers over to the special reserve. So special reserve had small projects, $12,000. So you had a slight decrease in your special reserve. As we turn the page and go into the notes to the financial statements, the first note, note number 1 on page 10, it says summary of significant accounting policies. So all the accounting policies that are necessary to formulate the statements that we just went through are detailed in note number 1. And you can page through there, and when you get to page 15, have you stop there. The bottom of page 15 is note number 2 on deposits and investments. And at the bottom of the page, there's a discussion about deposits with financial institutions. And just want to talk about one of the risks of having money in a bank is if the bank goes out of business. So custodial credit risk says if the bank goes out of business, then do we get our money back? And you get $250,000 per institution in FDIC insurance. And then as a local government, you can have the financial institution pledge collateral, and your main financial institution, Fifth Third Bank, has pledged collateral. We confirm that collateral directly with the third party holding the collateral. And indeed, indeed that collateral was sufficient to cover those deposits over the $250,000. So all of your deposits were fully collateralized at fiscal year end. We'll turn a couple pages to page 19. Actually, page 18, you'll see at the bottom of the page, there's a table there on the debt certificates. If you remember from the project in 2016 was when those were issued. So the table there summarizes the principal payments that have been made during the year. The $135,000 was paid, so $1,550,000 was the remaining principal at June 30th. And then as you flip to page 19 shows the remaining principal and interest payments through fiscal year 2030. The next note talks about your participation in IMRF, which is the pension plan for the employees. And to see the financial results for the year, you look to page 22. And this is divided up into 3 columns. The total pension liability would be all of the active employees and retirees of the district. And the actuary estimates the total liability by estimating how long those pension payments are going to last and at what level, and then present values those back to the bottom left corner of December 31st, 2019 of $3,504,000. And then you're setting money aside each year to pay those pensions, and those are the money set aside by 4.5% from the employee checks, and then the district's contribution is based on a percent of payroll, and that employer rate was 11.55% across your fiscal year. So if you look in column B, that planned fiduciary net position, that's your assets at market value. So they started the year at $2,623,000, $83,000 in district contributions, $34,000 in employee contributions. The investments earned $492,000 in calendar year 2019. So like between 15 and 20%. Your benefit payments to retirees was $151,000, and overall you had a increase to your assets of $469,000. So your assets in the plan was $3,093,000. Now, sometimes people will look at a pension plan and say, what percent are we funded? So to do that, if you look at the first line, January 1st, 19, if you took the middle column, the $2,623,000 divided by the pension liability of $3,349,000, that's 78.3%. If you did the same math at the end of the year, you were up to 88.2%. So because of the strong returns in 2019, you increased by 10%. Now your funding is based on those investment earnings smoothed out over 5 years. If we had big losses in one year, big earnings in another, those would smooth each other out so that your employer contribution rate is not going up and down very dramatically. So if we turn over to page 28, we'll have more detailed information about your general fund, your main operating fund. So page 28 takes the information that we saw in the income statement at the front of the report, adds budget numbers or appropriation numbers to this statement, and then also major categories of expenditures are detailed below. In addition, you see 2019 or prior year actual figures as well. So nothing particular to draw to your attention here, just want to make sure you knew where more detail was. If you're looking for even more detail on the general fund expenditures, you can find those on pages 29 through 31. Page 33 is the budget versus actual for your special reserve fund. Like we talked about at the beginning, just small projects during the fiscal year in the special reserve. Page 35, a couple times I made reference to non-major funds up at the front of the report. So those are your building equipment and maintenance, developer donation fund, no activity and no balance in there, but it's still an open fund, if you will. And then your Alba Limos gift fund has 13,000 remaining in that fund. If we flip to the very tail end of the report, there's facing pages 39 and 40 with all kinds of numbers. This is property tax information, shows you the assessed valuations for each year, with 2019 being in the top left of page 39. And you can see your assessed valuation in 2019 now is above 2010. So we had a period, obviously, of declining EAVs and now rising EAVs. While you don't levy a tax rate when you levy a dollar amount, when your EAV is increasing, your tax rate generally declines. And so you see that rate was down to 0.3622 for 2019. Then if we look at the collections, the 2019, the 982,000 that was collected in June of 2020, that's the amount that was deferred. We talked about that. So you had collected just half of the taxes before the end of the fiscal year. But if we look at the last complete tax year, 2018, you collected 99.92%. So your largest revenue stream is coming in as anticipated. And I would imagine you're probably pretty close to over 95% as we sit here in November on the 2019 levy. Sandy, is that accurate?
It's correct. We have about 98%.
Okay, perfect. So 98%. So there was a lot of concern with COVID, what was going to happen. Were local governments still going to get their property taxes? And what we've seen with all of our clients throughout Kane and DuPage County is that indeed the dollars we're still coming in on a timely basis and have gotten pretty close to the percentages that were collected in prior years. So those are what I consider to be the highlights of the audit. In conclusion, the audit went smoothly and on a timely basis. 2020 has definitely been a crazy year. It forced our business into a remote environment as well. So the audit in person can be stressful, maybe remotely. I don't know if it's more or less stressful, but it requires everyone to adapt to a different environment. I just want to let you know that your staff that we work with, Sandy and Jackie, very professional and adapted very well to that environment, and we greatly appreciate that. So with that, I would open it up to any questions that you might have.
I had one question. I know that we had received that tax objection because there was somehow an excess balance in one of our funds. And I just was curious how that affected things or where the transfer was. And I didn't know if that was.
So this is Sandy. Now the camera's probably not gonna move back to me, but that is probably something that we weren't aware of when the audit was concluded. So Brian, there was a tax objection to our building and maintenance levy last year. And I was under the understanding that it had been dismissed, but the person is moving forward. Heather, those take, according to our attorney, those take several years to get settled. So that is not in this report at all.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
Ryan, do you have any questions about that?
No, but you're welcome to, if your attorney needs to discuss anything with us, he's more than welcome to reach out.
Yeah, I think we've got it covered. just one of those situations where an attorney files these for many, many clients
Right.
in many districts.
Yep.
Eventually, it'll come out against our regular tax levy. The county automatically deducts whatever, if we settle, the county will automatically deduct those funds from our levy.
What I can't recall is there a statutory amount that for how much you're allowed to accumulate in that fund?
Yes, it's 2 to 2.5 times. The
2.5
average
2.5 times
expenditure,
what?
yeah,
2.5 times what?
2.5 times the average expenditures over the past 3 fiscal years.
Okay. Because if I look at page 35.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head, have your building and maintenance expenditures varied that much?
They have the first year of the averages that were used to calculate the overage was it was before our renovation was complete.
Right.
So following the renovation, there were additional expenses for cleaning and some extra maintenance costs.
Sure.
So there was probably about a $15,000 to $20,000 swing after that year, and it's been consistent since that time. So in my discussions with the state's attorney, the assistant state's attorney at DuPage County, she recalculated the expenditure average and advised the complainant to drop the objection, but that did not happen. So
Because I would say you have less than 1 times in there
currently, right,
currently. Yes.
yes. So moving forward, we don't have a problem. It's just that 1 year, we got caught within that, so.
Got it.
I think the total risk is maybe $6,000, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And I've authorized the attorney to put forward a settlement opportunity of $3,000.
Got it.
That's where we're at with that.
Does the Board of Trustees have any questions for Brian? Other questions? Well, then that said, I'd like to thank you for taking good care of us again for another year, and appreciated your comments about Director Whitmer and J.P. Davis being so helpful. I'm sure we're glad to hear news like that. So thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. And please
Thanks
stay
to you
safe.
all as well, and good to see you all, and good to work with you again this year.
Stay strong.
I'll try. Everybody stay safe.
Are you remote all the time, or do you go into the office occasionally?
I had been going in just to kind of make sure nothing had popped up on my desk that I wasn't aware of, about once a week. And we do have, but surprisingly, we hadn't received any note, and because we have several different businesses in the building that we're in, and we just received the very first case of any of the employers in there in the last week or two. So now they really don't want us to go there at all. But I really was just swinging by just to, like I said, take care of some paperwork from time to time, but really haven't been there. And I think the last percentage I saw across our entire footprint, which is 1,000 employees across the country, I think on average, maybe 6 to 7% of people were like badging in to the building on any particular day. So it's completely changed, you know, obviously how we run our business. So
Building occupancy rates are really, they're really low. So,
yeah. So it's definitely been different, and it's you have to work hard to stay connected with your teams and with your clients. And, but I think everybody has been doing a pretty good job. So,
Well, again, thank you for taking such good care of us.
well, you're very welcome. And everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
You
you
as
too,
well.
Brian.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. We'll proceed with the agenda. Are there any public comments that you are aware of?
So we haven't received any email public comments before the start of the meeting at 7. But we did have a comment placed on the Facebook post for this evening's meeting that I thought I would share. This is from Joseph Picard. I apologize if I've said that wrong. But his statement is, give the public a few chairs to sit for a few minutes while looking at materials, or make the staff stand while they work too. So that was the only public comment that we received this month.
Moving on, correspondence in your packet, page 3, letter from Secretary of State Jesse White. Director Whitmer, do you have any comments you'd like to make about that?
I don't have any comments, but I can tell you that we probably spent $500 in the first month we started ordering PPE. So that money has been spent. We have all the receipts, and we will submit those as soon as we get the instructions for how to collect the reimbursement.
Well done. $500 is $500.
That's
folks.
correct.
All right, at this time, we'll move on to the consent agenda, item number 7. I'd ask that our Secretary Pro Tem please read the consent agenda for us.
I read the consent agenda. Approve minutes of the October 21st, 2020 regular Board of Trustees meeting. B, receive and file financial report for October. C, certify compliance with the Truth in Taxation Act. D, adopt ordinance number 20-2104, levy ordinance for fiscal year 2021. E, approve notice of availability of audit report for publication. F, adopt ordinance 20-2105, fixing regular meetings for 2021. G, certify statement of economic interest list and authorize submission of information to DuPage County. H, approve payment of invoices in the amount of $196,146.55 for the period of October 22nd to November 18, 2020, including electronic payments and checks 7959 through 7995, previously issued checks 7927 and 7935 are voided. I, approve transfer of $225,000 from commercial checking account to operating checking account. J, cancel December 16, 2020 regular Board of Trustee meetings and authorize treasurer to submit payments for the period November 19th to December 16, 2020.
All right, that's a lot of reading. Thank you. Can I have a motion, please? Hello,
I move we accept the agenda as read.
thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Second, DeRocher.
Motion was made by Trustee DeRocher. I'm sorry, Trustee Richardson, and seconded by Trustee DeRocher. Trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
Trustee Richardson,
Aye.
Trustee Ritzica,
Aye.
Trustee Stahl,
Aye.
Trustee Warren,
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
there you go.
Trustee Pika also votes aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. There are no items in the regular agenda or unfinished business, so we will move on to new business, page 30 in your packet. And this is the repeal the wage freeze and authorize the library director to implement wage increases effective December 28th, 2020. So I realize there may be some question for the discussions, but if I could get a motion on the table, and then we can discuss.
I move to repeal the wage freeze and authorize Director Whitmer to implement wage increases effective December 28, 2020.
Is there a second?
So, seconds.
Motion was made by trustee Rizika and seconded by trustee Stahl. Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Do you want to have discussion or no?
Oh, yeah, I guess I knew we had, all right. All right, any discussion, any questions? Director Whitmer, anything that you would like to add to the discussion?
I think the report here is pretty clear. One thing that I wanted to note is that when the wage freeze was put into effect, we anticipated like a repeal date in January. I think we said January 10th, but we have sufficient funds available that we could actually put these wage increases into effect as of December 28th, and they would be payable in January. So I think that that's an appropriate thing to do at this time.
Probably,
I have a question. We implemented this wage freeze because we were anticipating a potential recession, yes?
We were waiting to see
But it
how
did.
the property taxes
Yes.
came in.
Right, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
And my second question is, at the very bottom of the page, you say what the cost to implement is. That was budgeted, yes?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, good.
other questions or comments? I would presume that it's better from an administrative standpoint for JP to do it on the 28th of payroll day. Cleaner.
It does not make any difference because in a fiscal year, our fiscal year runs July to June. So
Okay,
it's not
there's no
calendar
there
year.
and no there. All right,
No, and I did check with Jackie and that is an okay date for her
okay,
to have all the data entered. So,
just was checking.
yes, thank you.
All right, so that said, unless there's more comments, we'll take roll call. Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Stahl,
Aye.
trustee Rizika,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Aye.
trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
trustee Pika also votes aye, the motion carried. Moving on to page 31 in your packet. This is approved revision to wage scale, including a 2% market adjustment, and changes to pay grade assignments. Again, there may be some discussion, but if we could get a motion on the table,
I
please.
move to approve revisions to wage scale, including a 2% market adjustment and changes to pay grade assignments effective January 1st, 2021.
Stahl,
Oh.
seconds.
Wait, time out.
Excuse me, I'm out. I apologize, in the agenda, I hit the wrong date. It should be effective December 28th, 2020. So
I will read it.
Please.
that's okay, thanks, Cindy. My apologies. In the packet, it's
Did you
wrong.
say 2020? Okay.
Yes, December
I
28th,
move we
2020.
approve the revisions to wage scale, including a 2% market adjustment, and changes to pay grade assignments effective December 28th, 2020.
Second,
Stahl, seconds.
motion was made by trustee Rizika and seconded by trustee Stahl. Discussion, questions, comments?
I'm just curious about the change for the graphic artist moving down a pay grade. Is that gonna cause trouble?
Less hours, right?
It's not less hours, it's less
Amount of work.
less pay per hour.
Okay.
I looked at a salary survey that indicated we were paying more per hour for the employee graphic artist than other libraries of similar size and similar budgets.
Is that gonna impact our employee in terms of tenure? I mean, are they gonna be okay
would-
with that?
We do not have a graphic artist at this time. We have
Oh.
a graphic artist.
I
who
was
is-
thinking of Kathy as the graphic artist. Okay,
Oh,
never
no. Kathy's a marketing person. Our
Okay.
graphic artist, this year we are using an independent contractor basically for that.
Okay,
But
All
great
right.
question.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? We will take a vote then. Trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Aye.
trustee Ritzica,
Aye.
trustee Stahl,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Pika also votes aye. The motion carries. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to our director for her report, please.
So last month, the main thing in my report this month is this update on our migration to Swan. Last month, you asked for more details about the calendar and the timeline for this transition. So I've laid that out here in my report. Swan provided us with some bookmarks to help get the word out to our users and perhaps those of you who have placed holds on items in our collection. You probably in the past couple of weeks have received bookmarks in your materials that outline some of the things that are coming. First bookmark just talked in general about our transition to Swan. The bookmark that we're distributing at this time has some of these specific dates listed. And then the final bookmark will be distributed after we're live in the system. And it talks about automatic renewals that will be available to everyone. So the biggest thing that we have coming our way is on Monday, November 23rd, we have a tech freeze. And what that means is all of the data for our materials is frozen so that they can move that data into the new system. So we will not be able to add any new materials to the collection at that time. We'll resume adding new materials after December 9th. So that's the first freeze. On December 4th, on or about December 4th, is when our patron data will be frozen. So what that means is all of our check-ins will be suspended, and any checkout of materials will be done in an offline mode. So the information that you see in the catalog or when you check your account may not accurately reflect the status of certain items. So that will be a period from December 4th through December 8th. And then on December 9th, that is our go live day. So that is when we will be, knock on wood, fully integrated, or as close to fully integrated as we can be in the Swan catalog, in this consortium. So on that date, our users will be able to visit the Swan catalog, place holds on their items. They'll be able to see everything in there should pretty accurately reflect items that you have checked out, your due dates, all of that should be up to date, along with access to some new databases and all sorts of other things. One of the things I didn't mention here, but it is mentioned in a great blog post that Kathy and Jamie and some others worked hard to pull together some of the most important information about this transition. The things that you should know are PIN numbers that you use to access your account online are going to change. So on December 9th, they will default to the last 4 digits of the phone number that is in your library record. So that is one message that Kathy has been trying to get out fairly consistently. If you don't have a phone number in your library record, it's going to default to a random 4-digit number. Because of security, we don't see your PIN number. So you can't call us to reset it. Well, you can call us to reset it. But first, we would ask that you go to the catalog and use the forgot my PIN link. And that will shoot out an email to you and allow you to reset your own PIN. However, there are people who may not have an email address in their account. So those individuals will in fact have to call the library, and the library staff will reset that number for them. I'm not sure if that's going to be something that gets done with a phone call, or if we are actually going to have the individuals come in so we can actually verify that they are who they say they are. That's a process that has to be, I believe, still has to be worked out. So there's certainly been, there's been a lot of work put into this transition. All of our staff have taken numerous training sessions. Members of the management team have participated in weekly planning meetings with the SWAN staff since midsummer. And I really think that we've positioned ourselves pretty well to make this a smooth transition. However, I would ask that everyone be patient with us, especially on December 9th. It's definitely going to be a very different system for staff, but for our public, the catalog that you use on the website will actually look very similar to our existing catalog. It's the same software product. So for patrons, it should not be a big switch, but for staff, this is a considerable change. And I've tried to tell the people that I've worked with closely on this. The training is unusual because, again, all of the training has been online. We're not in person in a computer lab learning together. So that certainly has been challenging, but I'm really confident that this system is a pretty decent system. And once we're actually in it and using it daily, I'm really confident that this will go pretty smoothly for everyone. Certainly there will be questions that arise. The SWAN staff will have one person physically in our building the first 3 days of the go live period, which is great. And they've also set up a way for us to connect to them online as questions arrive at our public service desk or back in our technical services area. So we'll be able to hop onto a call similar to this and share our screen and walk through resolving whatever questions that we might have. So that's probably more than you ever wanted to know, but I think we're ready, and I just have to say thank you to all the staff that have been a part of working so hard to get this up and running. And I do think that the benefits to our members as well as to our staff are going to be pretty big once we get into the system and use it well, become familiar with it. There is an app that will be available to search the catalog, place holds, etc. So that is coming back, which is another thing that has been asked for quite frequently. Do any of you use Library Help? I don't know. So that service is going to go away. We've asked that to be turned off on December 1st. However, the app that we have, one of the advantages to Library Help is that if you had a family, you could set it up so that you could check all of the cards of the members of your family in one place, which is a nice convenient thing. The app, the SWAN app, will do that as well. So we didn't see a need to continue to pay for the Library Help software. So that will go away on December 1st. Another great thing is that we will be able to accept payments online that are integrated into the online catalog system. So we will also be discontinuing our use of the Illinois State Treasurer's ePay credit card program. So those are other changes. So I think that's enough.
Question, a couple of them.
Yes.
These freezes that are going to have to be enacted, how difficult will that be for the staff? Is that how much extra work? Do you see it as a serious hurdle to cover, or you're ready to go on it? I know you said you need patience.
Right.
But I wonder how big of a hurdle those things are going to be for you guys to jump.
So the challenges that I see with the freeze are, number one, in technical services. starting Monday, they won't be able to add any materials. They probably aren't not going to be able to do much work for a week and a half. The good news is we have a holiday, Thanksgiving holiday in there. We also have some training because we will be changing the way we acquire books and bring those records into the system. So there's training for them to complete. There are also lots of practice exercises. We have access to a test database. So my plan is to use that time with tech services to train and retrain and practice so that when we go live, we're ready to really hit the ground running. So that's one challenge with the tech freeze. A challenge with the patron data freeze is that we won't be able to check in any materials, which means our shelvers will not have really any work to do. So I've suggested to them, and some of them have taken me up on it, that would be a great time to use some of their paid time off that they've accrued. Some of them are almost at their cap for that. So several of them are taking a couple of days off. But when they return to work, there will be plenty of work to do because we'll have to check in all those books that are.
I think that was my greater concern,
Waiting.
is how long it was gonna take
Yeah.
to play catch up.
Right, so that's the second challenge. The third challenge is that offline circulation time. Offline circulation is not available with our self-check units, which means that anyone who wishes to check out materials during that patron data freeze will have to check their materials out at the member services desk. So there's that, during the pandemic in our operations, we're trying to encourage people to use the self-checkout machines. So for a period of time, we'll be doing those checkouts ourselves at the members.
So there are some challenges, but it sounds like you have a plan.
There are definitely some challenges.
And not to be a dead horse, but how, if COVID mitigation, I know it's gonna affect it, we've talked about that already, but if it increases, how will that impact? Will we still proceed with the calendar?
Yes. So our operations during COVID, if our library has to shut down, this migration marches onward. Swan and Cynthia for our library have coordinated these data loads that have to happen. Those are scheduled. The partners at the software company are already scheduled and ready to work on that. So this will move forward.
Okay.
COVID won't delay it.
Just wondering. Thank you. Good information. You still have anything else in your reports to cover?
I have notes here about COVID-19, but I'm hoping that we might be able to discuss that under items for information and or discussion. I want that to be a little more of a discussion with the trustees, if that's okay. And the other note here is the per capita grant application. This is the time of year that we will be reviewing things for that application. However, they have yet to release the application. To my knowledge, we haven't been informed by the state library that's available. But they have put on their website that the due date is going to be pushed to March 15th. And the rumor is this year, as you all remember, we usually review a couple of chapters in the Public Library Standards book.
Yeah.
The rumor is
We won't have to do that.
we will be reviewing the entire publication.
What? Get out.
I was going for we wouldn't have to do it.
Oh, my God.
Thanks, Barbara. My thoughts exactly.
Okay.
I don't know what they think.
Just
we're
because
all-
they don't have anything to do doesn't mean the rest of us don't have things to do.
I don't think I think they think we're not doing anything right now. But anyway, so, and I've been, I hate to say the word burned, but I've been burned in the past where they tell us what they're expecting us to do, but they haven't released the application. We do it, and then the application comes out and it's something, it's the same thing, but it's shifted a little bit. So then we have to backtrack and redo everything. So until I have official word from the state library that this is what we have to do, these are the questions we have to answer on the application, I'm really reluctant to get started on that application. And certainly I have plenty of other things to do. So
But Barbara, if you want to start reviewing, go right ahead.
What? I'm
I'll
sorry.
I'll probably do a ceremonial burning is what I'll do.
There you go. All right, anything else, Director Whitmer? If not, thank you very much for your report and all the details on the Swan migration. That's a lot of extra work, but we appreciate it. We have the departmental head reports next. I have a question for Jackie. Can she here? How, or maybe somebody can answer, how's the boiler?
Jackie, you want to unmute yourself? Jerry's asking how the boiler is.
Which one?
The
Well,
one that
Jerry.
needed repairs last, that
the
you
one
reported.
that you had referenced in your report that needed repairs, he found it.
The Oak Brook Mechanical was out there today and is contacting the person who made the repairs this past summer because it is under warranty. It's the flue is leaking.
But it still needs to be repaired.
Yes, it's not running at the moment. We do not have that one going.
Just, well.
So it's getting scheduled. It will, Lee is on top of it, thank God. But we couldn't have Bill from Oak Brook come out the past couple of weeks because it was too hot. The boiler wasn't running.
Yeah.
So we had to wait for it to get cold enough to run so that he could come in and test the carbon monoxide level too.
Well, luckily Lee did find it, and that's the godsend. in this
Oh, he has
situation.
an alarm down there that goes off.
Excellent,
Yeah, he's awesome about all that stuff.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And I did note, I'm sure you all did too, that there is a lot going on with trying to do some more things to appeal to our Hispanic population. Thank you very much. And I did also note, Kathy, thank you. You got some Facebook insight comparison with other local entities. Thank you very much for that information as well. Trustees, anything on the departmental head reports you'd like to ask? I think some of them are on the line if they need to address questions. Ready, then we will go to the president's report. Again, we did vote to cancel the December meeting, so please mark your calendar accordingly. You can have an extra glass of eggnog. And then in January, I don't know that we'll be able to review the per capita grant requirements, but we do have a placeholder. We'll expect the calendar of responsibilities, and Director Whitmer will be discussing her proposal for leadership development. So we have that. Treasurer's report.
Okay, well, we'll start off with the good news that was sort of earlier that we have reached 99% percentage of the property tax being received. The debt certificate payment, we did receive the wire transfer for the city and the payment's been made. So the final payment will be made in December of 2029. So anyway, outstanding job for Sandy for helping the treasurer this month. Oh, is there somebody else in the meeting with you, Barbara?
Why, yes, there is. Have you all met my,
Oh,
this is Tuck.
Oh, it's so cute.
Hi, everybody.
oh.
He just always has to come when I have my computer on and I have a Zoom session going. He just has to be part of the deal.
He's not going to get to vote, although he could make the most important motion of the evening. Secretary, anything, Pro Tem?
I haven't given any records, but I would say what Sandy Liaison says, everything looks good.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Cindy.
There are, to the best of my knowledge, there are no committee reports. Any trustee comments? All right, if not, as Sandy suggested, item 18, items for information or discussion. I'd like to have a discussion on COVID-19 Tier 3 mitigation. Sandy did send an email earlier, prior to this meeting. Maybe you had time to review it. I'll just let you take the discussion, please.
I just hope everybody received the email that I sent. It was for staff who are on the call. I sent an email to staff earlier today, and forwarded the same emails to trustees. Basically, at this time, I don't have any plans to close the library or step back our existing services. Some libraries are moving back to curbside. However, after reviewing the tier 3 mitigations, and based on the fact that really I've been watching the retail guidelines, because there are no specific guidelines for public libraries or academic libraries. After reviewing those guidelines, we are already either meeting or exceeding what the tier 3 guidelines are, which basically are that we operate at no more than a 25% building capacity. We're actually operating at less than 10% capacity. Encouraging delivery or curbside pickup options. We offer that as an option. Perhaps it is something that we can encourage in the coming weeks. And then the third is that when they call it in-store shopping is necessary, that's our grab and go model, that we promote efficient trips and consistent circulation. So we're doing that by limiting people's time in the building, limiting how many people are in our aisles, encouraging that social distancing, and not having any seating in our building. So other than use the computers, there's no reason for anyone to really linger and hang out here in the building. So because we're meeting those mitigations, I don't see a need at this time to step back. I did outline some reasons why we might step back, and that includes if the board has other thoughts on this and they'd like us to step things back, we could do that. If the city issues any kind of guidance, if the state issues some specific guidance, any of those kind of overarching entities, if they provide us with specific guidance, come to us and say, hey, we really need you to move back to curbside or shut your building down completely, certainly we would comply with that. But I don't know if any of the trustees have any comments about that or concerns.
Well, I have a few questions.
Sure.
I'd like to kind of have you gauge the staff's, you know, how are they feeling about being in the building? You know, at the beginning of the shutdowns back in the spring, you know, there were people who weren't willing to be in the building and that sort of thing. I feel like we've put a lot of really good mitigation measures in place, and I feel like it's very safe inside the library, but I'm wondering how the staff are feeling. And I'd also like you to answer the question, have there been any staff who have tested positive?
I am not aware of any staff who have tested positive.
Okay.
And I hope that if a staff person has tested positive, they would notify us. I have to say one thing about our staff that I believe I've seen. Our staff are very respectful of their colleagues, and they understand that, you know, we have protocols for when they're working in the library, but they also understand that their actions when they're at home or in the community, or just when they're living their daily life, they know that those actions have an impact on everyone that they encounter, including those of us that they work with. So I have to thank our staff for really being good at following the protocols. I've heard horror stories from other, not libraries particularly, but other companies and businesses. So I am truly, truly grateful to our staff for those efforts. We don't have any typical people who are disregarding our own safety protocols, but I know that they're all acting responsibly elsewhere. So that we can be thankful for. Yes. To your point about if staff are feeling, how staff are feeling in the building, I do know that, you know, we have at least one individual who is I think, concerned about interacting with patrons in the building and whether or not we're all consistently following the protocols to the same extent. So each of us has our own comfort level with some of these protocols, and I think each interaction with a patron requires a little bit of judgment on the part of the staff person. So each of us may handle things differently while following the basic protocols overall. Today, one of the employees, after getting this message, did send me a thank you and indicated that as things stand now, she is comfortable and feels safe working in the building. I think if you were to visit other libraries, even other places of employment, stores, etc., we have, I think as Barbara said, really thought seriously and responded to staff requests for safety protocols. Most of the counter service type businesses I've been to, there may be one piece of plexiglass at a desk in front of the person who's working. We've pretty much entirely surrounded our staff in a kind of a fishbowl atmosphere, but they're really to make things safe. And I would say from the beginning, in March, April, May, we did not have those safety things in place. And certainly that's why we were closed. I wasn't comfortable opening the building until we had those things in place. And at that time, we didn't know as much as we do now about the virus. So, but certainly I would encourage staff, I know some of you are on this call, if people do have concerns about their safety in the building, they should, have a discussion with their manager. As long as we're open, we will have to require staff to be in the building to continue the services that we've defined as essential. And some of those are basically essential duties of their job positions. So, we'll work with individuals to find ways to get them off of the desk if that's a necessity, but that may require them using their annual leave or sick leave or some kind of paid leave to exempt them from those duties.
Okay, I really, you did a thorough job answering that question. I just wanted to have a consciousness around the fact that we're making a decision to stay open, and I think rightly so, but I want to make sure that we're keeping in mind the safety of our employees. So that's all.
Yep, no, thanks for sharing that.
Good question.
And we'll
I
moderate.
just,
Go ahead, Heather, sorry.
sorry, well, I was just gonna say kudos to Sandy as well as the rest of the staff for making this a safe place for people to come to, for the staff as well as the thing, because in my job, we had a supervisor that had a daughter that had tested positive for COVID. She felt fine, so she came into work and infected up to 10 people in our office. And so that's, it's an uncertain time. We had another person that was just a member of the public, which they're certainly need to have access to the court system, but they came in, oh yeah, I had a positive test, but I wanted to be here to file something. So it's uncertain. It makes me nervous to be in the building, but I need to be there. So I just want to say thank you, Sandy, for everything that you're doing on behalf of the staff and the patrons. So
I appreciate that. And I will say it's been challenging. We've kept those bubbles or pods or teams. For instance, Jackie and I haven't seen each other, for that matter, the people who work on Mondays haven't seen in person the people who work on Tuesdays since at least April, and in some cases since March. We haven't been face to face other than online. And that's very, very challenging for all of us. And there have been times where I felt, okay, is this the time where we just need to merge our staffs and get past those teams. However, whenever I bring that up with the management team, even the staff, they're all comfortable being separated. I think I'm the one who's anxious about that. And that's helped us operate safely. And if we did have someone test positive and we had close contacts that need to quarantine, that would allow us to shut down not the entire library operation, but just, 3 days a week. The other 3 days, we could still be open and continue to provide services. So it also helps continue, continuity of operations. But, yeah. So,
And I think you should be glad you kept with that, the way
Yes.
things are going now, because it would be difficult to go back to. the
absolutely,
past.
absolutely.
And I echo Heather and Barbara. I think the staff at your direction have done a fabulous job.
And
Navigating.
we knew there'd be a second wave. We were told about that. And I think the library was well prepared for that.
It's like I said in the beginning, you have no training to navigate these waters.
No.
And you guys have all banded together to make some very wise decisions. You've done a great job. And I would venture to guess that the majority of the members that we serve are very pleased with what the library has been able to offer. So thank you to you and your staff.
So we'll keep watching things and go from there.
Ms.
Jill.
Jill?
Can I just ask a question to clarify in my head, because it's been so long since we talked about this that I don't remember. Why are we following retail and not a cultural institution?
I selected retail simply because I think that our operations closely mirror retail institutions. People come in, they browse things on a shelf, they pull items off, they take them home. The difference is here they're bringing them back, and that's why we quarantine materials when they come back. Whereas a museum or a cultural institution, I think it's more of a lingering type of location. Sometimes those museums have interactive exhibits that are touchy-feely that we try to stay away from. If it was just our discovery room, we've closed down. That's almost a museum type activity. So that's just where my mind goes when I think of, how a library is working. It's that, pull something off the shelf, take it home, almost like purchasing something from a grocery store.
And I also think the key thought is that the library is only operating at 10% capacity right now, which is a state percentage.
Right. And there's also, there's guidance there for offices as well. And the office guidance says, as many people as possible should be working from home. And we are doing that. We're trying to keep only the people who are necessary in the building. Granted, we could probably have more people work from home, like 100% of the time. I could probably work from home 100% of the time. Jackie could work from home 100% of the time. Even Kathy. Most of the management team could work from home 100% of the time. But there's an element to being a manager that I think it's important to be in the building part of the time, and you just need managers in the building to supervise things if something were to go, off the rails a little bit, or staff needed some additional backup for situations. That was a long answer, Jill.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything else to share? Is there any other? Yes,
I
Barbara.
would just like to say thank you, Sandy, for keeping us apprised. It is really quite a fluid situation. The guidance coming out seems to change really daily. We're going through the same thing with our school, and we just never know. We have to kind of have a lot of different scenarios in our minds because we're not sure what it's going to look like from day to day. So thank you for keeping us apprised of where you're at in your thought process.
Right.
I thought this was really, your email was very informative, and this was a good informational session so that we can feel good about staying open. I mean, I really did wonder about how the employees were feeling, and I felt like that was well answered.
Right. So we'll continue to monitor things. It's not just these mitigations that we know from that email that we're looking at. It's possible if one of the libraries around us closes, Winfield has closed completely. The only thing that they're going to be doing is accepting return materials to their book return. So there's a possibility that their patrons will be coming to us. And I don't see that having a huge impact on our operations. But if a library like Naperville, or Wheaton, or Aurora closed down, that may impact our decision to continue operations because, you know, if we're overwhelmed by the number of people needing our resources, you know, we may have to make some adaptations to the things we're doing.
And Batavia is just curbside only now.
Correct. Batavia has moved to curbside only. Batavia made that decision because neighboring libraries, St. Charles,
Right.
North Aurora, have also moved to curbside. So, and the great thing is that the library directors in this area, we all communicate with each other very frequently, sometimes too frequently. But it's great that we're all in touch and we all really know what we're thinking and where we're heading. So we try to make decisions almost as neighboring libraries. So we're a little bit consistent in our little pockets of the world.
I think it helps to be talking to among libraries. I do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a fair assumption to think that if other libraries close, though, that we're going to be overwhelmed. I think people are just going to be staying home. So, I mean, it's possible that we could get more requests for, you know, if they close completely, then they won't even have curbside open. It's possible our curbside could pick up, but I think if libraries makes decisions to close, it means it's because
So if the kids,
you need to stay home.
Right.
How much
We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hooper. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think one of my concerns would be the computers, because if they're not available in the near vicinity, I think that's what they would want to physically be able to come into a library to utilize.
Right. And I think our management team will be discussing the computers in a little more detail tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know, for instance, that Naperville now only has one computer in each of their branches, and those computers are 15-minute express computers. So we're looking at ways that we may need to reduce the number of computers in our building, but we have some ideas for that. So
Hard catalogs, have they been reduced to?
our catalog, we have very few
Okay.
catalogs in our building. I think we only have 3.
Not as many as we used to.
No. And most people now are
Oh, my God.
searching
Yeah,
their cell phone,
That's what I
using the
do.
catalog on.
That's what I do.
Sandy, do you have any indication that Hoopla is gonna pick up the pace on their offerings again?
Not that I know of. I have not heard anything to that effect.
That sure would be great. That was so wonderful.
So are you just talking about where they had they had some
Yes.
freebie kind of stuff, right?
They had just pretty much everything available to everybody.
Let me see if I have Paul's on here as an attendee. Paul, I'm gonna turn on your, allow you to talk. You might be able to unmic or unmute yourself. Do you have anything to add?
Hello.
Yep, we hear you. Thanks.
All right. I haven't heard anything. You're talking about the bonus borrows.
Yes.
I haven't heard anything yet. But I would not be surprised if it's another extended stay-at-home order. But I mean, they were pretty generous the first time around, so we'll see.
Sure.
I haven't heard anything that though.
Okay, and I'm wondering, does anything change with us moving to Swan in terms of Hoopla offerings?
No. So our ebook offerings, like Overdrive Libby, if you will, and Hoopla, those are all on an individual basis on
Okay.
libraries, so those will not change.
Okay. I've become very dependent on them.
Yeah, me too.
And it's really frustrating because there's not a lot.
Right. I read mainly comics, and there's a ton on there, so there's a lot of content for me.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
All right.
Great, thanks, Paul.
No problem.
Okay, so any other items that require discussion or informational in nature? If not, I would request a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn the meeting at the Warrenville Public Library at, I don't know the time,
It's 8:21.
November 18, 2020 at 8:20.
Can I get a second?
Still seconds.
Maybe I was waiting for Barbara's dog. No, I'm teasing.
No.
Motion was made by trustee Ritsika and seconded by trustee Stahl. Trustee Warren? Is he on?
Aye.
Aye.
Going off mute.
Thank you. Trustee Stahl?
Aye.
Trustee Ritsika?
Aye.
Trustee Richardson?
Hi.
Trustee DeRocher?
Aye.
Trustee Pika also votes aye. The meeting is adjourned. I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving.